This video is a video response to several messages that I received. It's just going to be, addressing a lot of these topics all in one video to streamline um, my expression. Some people have been asking about me teaching online. Um, I I never really went that route. It's not a route that I found success in, and it's not something that goes along with my way of seeing things and my philosophy. I feel that teaching should be a relationship that you have with each student, and it's something that should be a direct relationship. Now, there's a lot that you can learn online, but I have a lot that I teach that I want to keep within the school and not out for the public for anybody to learn. So people that want to learn from me, I encourage you to come to Chicago and join the school, and so we could interact and you can learn directly from me and train with the other students in the class. Whatever you watch in the videos that we do put out there, you can learn as much as you can from those videos. But as far as going in depth into the martial arts, it's something that I want to stay for a direct experience. Just like an established college, they'll have say Purdue University. You got to go there and get the degree from going to the classes and having that college experience, opposed to just going to online college. There's a lot that you can learn online, but for my expression and for the expression of this school, that's not the route that I've ever taken. I don't want to teach the martial arts in its entirety online, and I want to have a relationship with each student, and that is more of a direct experience. There's some people that contacted me about the 300,000 subscribers. Thank you very much for everybody for all the support and encouragement, and the positive energy is very much appreciated, and we're very thankful to be at this point, and we just hope to continue to grow. And bit by bit, putting out more videos where people can follow the best that they can, but and just keep working on their self-study, learning about the martial arts, the Chinese martial arts, and just trying to improve on themselves in fitness, in combat, in spirituality, in meditation, just to continue to be motivated to train and learn. I want to kind of be here as an inspiration, just as Bruce Lee has been an inspiration for me. He didn't necessarily say, hey, this is how you do this, how you do that, but his presence, his energy on screen, and the things that he wrote about, there's a lot that could be learned from his life, and how he did things, the way that he thought, the way that he saw the world. And that's kind of what I want to do, is just share my energy, share the energy of the school, and inspire people to improve upon their development in life, not just within the martial arts, but just in everything. So basically in your Kung Fu. And then the last thing that I'm going to address is talking about the ranks in martial arts schools, specifically Chinese martial arts schools, and what I think about that as far as the belt ranks and things like that. From my understanding and my studies, the Chinese martial arts is not supposed to have a belt system. That's something that was created more so by the Japanese martial arts and the Korean martial arts like Taekwondo and Karate and things like that, in order to kind of adapt to the Westerners and their way of competitiveness and their way of motivation to improve. So they've created a belt system within those arts, those systems. But in the Chinese martial arts, they're known to kind of do it differently and not have a belt system like that. But it doesn't mean that there isn't a system of rank, but it's just that they don't have a belt system in that same way. So if you look at the uniforms of the Japanese martial arts and the Korean martial arts, they have something called a gi in Japanese, which you see, it overlaps, like, coming over, and then they put a belt to hold the gi together, and then the belt could be a different color and things like that. But if you look at the Chinese martial arts, you look at people that might practice Tai Chi or any form of Chinese martial arts, Hung Gar, Wing Chun, Chole Foot, Praying Mantis. If you go to any of these Chinese martial arts shops and you type in Chinese martial art uniforms, you'll see that they'll have like frog buttons down. So they'll have like it almost looks like a suit, like a suit jacket, and they'll put it on, and they'll have frog buttons down, and they'll have kung fu pants that are elastic, and they might have a drawstring. So basically that uniform is not designed to have a belt. Like, you don't need a belt to wear that uniform. So even in the way that the Chinese martial art uniforms, the way that they are traditionally, there's no belts. So that goes to show the difference in the way that they express the martial arts, the way that they teach the martial arts. And you compare it to the Japanese martial arts, it's very different. Japanese have belts, they have gis. Chinese martial arts have like more like a suit-like uniform. Okay, so I go along with that, where we don't have belts in the Chinese martial arts or in this school. But I went the approach for many years of trying to say, hey, no competition. Don't compete with others. Don't even compete with yourself. Just train the meditation. That's what I used to teach. But that approach, it's very difficult to connect with a lot of the Americans, because their minds are, it's like they've been born to compete, and it's just who they are. It's something that it doesn't change. So you got to find a way to direct this competitive energy into a healthier alternative. So rather than, say competing in football or boxing, say somebody competes in basketball, or they compete in track and field, or they compete in, tennis, or they compete in chess, they compete in billiards or bowling. These are healthier forms of competition. But when competitiveness goes into unhealthy route, no matter if it's physically or mentally or spiritually, then you have to be really attentive to that, and you have to figure out a way where you could direct that energy towards something more positive. So in this school, we didn't have belt ranks. In the past, we implemented a system where we had badges, like these type of police shields that would represent rank, but I've done away with those as well, which is basically almost another version of the belt ranks, but I didn't like the way that it was going. Basically, my idea was, if I am able to give somebody a rank, I should be able to take the rank back, because if they're no longer living to the standards of that rank, then they do not deserve that rank. But what ended up happening was, once I started to get those, give something and take it back, the people would quit immediately, and that would happen over and over again. So that wasn't really a good option for the business aspect of the school. So done away with that. And then I started to implement something called the Student of the Year, which is basically, once the top student of the whole school on each year. So it started in 2015. There was a top student for that year, and then 2016 a top student, 2017 a top student, 2018 for a top student. So the way that it went was, your goal is to try to become the top student for every single year, just like in the basketball championships or the football league. They try to get a Super Bowl, or they try to win a championship every single year. So the Bulls used to be good when Michael Jordan was playing. They won 6 championships, but now they're considered one of the worst teams in the league. So just because they used to be good doesn't mean that they're currently good. And that's something that's more realistic, whereas like maybe you used to be a black belt, but it doesn't mean that you're a black belt now. You still need to prove yourself now. So I liked that a lot more, where it's like, okay, 2015 you were the top student, but what about 2016? What about 2017? What about 2018? What about 2019? So on and so forth. So you need to prove yourself every single year. So we do have a top student award that's given out every year, that started in 2015, and the person that won in 2015 also got it in 2018. So he's got it for 2 years out of the 4 that we've started to track it. And that is something that I really do agree with. And, in any organization that you join, any group, it's almost like there is automatically gonna be rank, whether or not you acknowledge it consciously or you don't. So there's always somebody in charge, like almost pretty much everywhere you go. Go into a household, who's in charge? It might be the father or it might be the mother. You go into any company, there's gonna be somebody that is in charge of that company. The CEO, or it could be the general manager, the manager, the regional manager, vice president, vice president, treasurer. Like, you look at the history of the U.S., there's always been a president for many years, for hundreds of years. So, like, there's always going to be somebody in charge. So, if there's nobody in charge, then there's not going to be any organization or any type of, like, growth. That organization is not going to survive very long if there's not somebody in charge. So rank is basically saying, okay, who's in charge? Who am I learning from? Okay, so like, so when you go into martial arts school, there's gonna be somebody in charge. There's gonna be some people that are capable of teaching and some people that are not capable of teaching. But it also depends on, depending on which martial arts schools, what type of symbols they're gonna use to identify who are the ones that are in charge or the ones that are qualified to teach. Okay, so basically in this school, there's me, the Sifu, who is the owner of the school, but then there's also my father, who is considered the Sigong, so the Sifu's father. So we're both, in a way, leading the school, in our different ways. I will manage the business aspect of the school, and I'm pretty much taking a bulk of the forefront of pushing the school forward. But Sigong is somebody in the backdrop that's providing support for me to do what I'm doing. So we're both in charge. And then there's gonna be, no matter what, there's gonna be the elder students, the senior students, the people that's been there for a long time and that have contributed in many different ways. So there's gonna be the senior students, and then there's gonna be, some of the students that's been there for a few years. And then there's gonna be the beginning students. So there's no matter what school you go to, there's gonna be advanced, intermediate, and beginners. And that's everywhere you go, because you're training within a group. There's gonna be those labels, whether or not you acknowledge it or you don't. So, but you don't have to use belts to signify that. And these ranks could be changing, at any time. So, like, say if I passed away suddenly, then I'm not in charge of the school anymore. Somebody else would have to be in charge if the school is going to continue. So you look at it in companies, this is the same thing. Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, and then now it's Tim Cook. So it changes. Barack Obama used to be president, now it's Donald Trump. So the shifting of power changes. So when you're in a school, and there's 10 students, then you gotta say, okay, who is the number one student of those 10? Who's number 2? Who's number 3? Who's number 4? Who's number 5? So on and so forth. You know, just like there's the rankings in the Olympics. Who's got the gold medal? Who's got the silver? Who's got the bronze? Who's got 4th place? Who's got 5th place? Who's got 6th place? You go into Chicago Marathon, they're ranking everybody based on their time that they completed the marathon. There's going to be a 1st place, there's going to be the 2nd, there's going to be a 3rd, so on and so forth. And every single year is not going to be the same. It's going to change every single year. You know, if you're lucky, you might win it 2 years in a row. You might win it 3 years in a row, but nothing lasts forever. So in the school, you know, people are ranked and evaluated based on a lot of different things. They're based on their fitness. They're based on the ability to express the forms of the school. They're based on their advancement in meditation. They're based on you know, the type of energy that they give within the school, like the humbleness that they have within. Is based on, you know, whether or not they come on time to class. Is based on how often they actually train. Is it 3 times a week, once a week, 4 times a week? It's based on their ability to teach others and help others. Is based on, you know, their everyday attitude. You know, are they positive? Do they bring positive energy to the school? You know, it's based on, you know, how often do they cancel? Do they let me know when they can't make it? You know, it's based on how responsible that they are, how they treat other people. You know, like, it's based on a lot of things. You know, so, and it's my assessment, and they're coming into my school, so they are basically saying, you know, I want my progress to be evaluated by you. And they're giving me that, you know, opportunity and respect to do that. So I am the one who determines what rank that they're at in comparison to everybody else in the class. And that's how a class formulates. When you have students, you have to figure out who are the ones that are leading by example. You know, and you don't want to put the number 1 student and then have him not being a good example for people to follow. You know, so this has nothing to do with black belts, yellow belts, pink belts, brown belts, purple belts, gold belts. This is just about progression and trying to be the best that you can be, you know. And not all the time will you be number 1. Not all the time may you even be number 2. And sometimes you might be last, because if you are in a group of an elite group and you're the last in that group, that doesn't mean that you're necessarily bad. It's compared to the general population, you could still be very advanced, but just within this elite group, you're the last in that group, which is not something to be ashamed of, because you are still a part of an elite group. So it's like a basketball team of 12 players, and then you happen to be the worst player in the team. But you got to recognize you're still in the NBA, and you're still at a higher level in basketball than thousands, if not millions of people in the world. Same thing with the Olympics. You might not have won a gold medal, you might not have won a silver medal or a bronze medal, or any medal for that matter. You might have been last, you might have placed last in whatever event you participated in. But the fact that you're in the Olympics already puts you above so many millions of people compared to the general population. So, and it's also a test to see where you are spiritually and meditatively, to be able to stay committed to the training even if you are last, you know, or not first. You know, and that's pretty much what I've implemented in the school. And the new thing that we've implemented is this leaderboard. Basically, where it could change at any time. And it's changed many times. People that come in, they do really well for 2 months, but then you don't see them ever again. Well, then they're off the board. Or they come in, they do really well for a year, and then you don't see them for a whole year. Then they either drop down really low onto the board, or they're just off the board completely. You know, so like, that's the nature of what life is that times change, things change, and that you gotta constantly put effort to improve and to maintain. And this leaderboard is an example of that. So basically, there's a number 1 student in the class, there's a number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and so on and so forth. That's what we've implemented into the school. It's nothing about, you know, having any colored belts, but it's a recognition that these are the students that are leading the class. These are the ones that you want to turn to learn from if I'm not there, or if I'm busy doing something, or if I'm training somebody privately. These are the students that you could go to for help, to help you progress. So the implementation of the leaderboard has been, in my eyes, very successful, and it's a very great way of motivating students to improve, and then also to kind of know where they're at in comparison to every other student in the school, you know. So we do have a leaderboard for the kids class and for the adult class, and this is an example of it right here. This is the top students from the adult class from 1 to 9, and then the top students from the kids class from 1 to 11. All right, so a lot of different things are put in consideration for it, and I try to be as objective as possible. This is not based on friendship. This is not based on, you know, favoritism. This is based on genuine hard work from each student. You know, so, you know, when you observe them practicing the techniques, when you observe them sparring, when you observe them doing the fitness, when you observe just their everyday life and how they treat others, you just observe them, then you could see, like, okay, which areas are they strong in, which areas do they need to improve in. So that's what I implemented in the school, and I think that that's very unique to this school that you might not find in any other school out there. Also, just realize that, you know, there might be certain titles where it's like, okay, you know, this is the Sifu, this is the Sigong, this is the it might be the assistant instructor, you know, the senior student, you know, or one of the beginning students, you know. So, you know, it's just the way that the culture has formulated the population's minds. It's geared towards comparison, and it's easier to just kind of adapt to the way that what they're used to, and find a way to help motivate them in a positive way towards improving upon their skill sets in the martial arts. And this is my solution to it, and I think it's something to think about as far as school owners are concerned, to figure out a reliable method, you know, that continually motivates people to improve year after year, opposed to just being like, hey, you know, I got my black belt 10 years ago, but I don't train anymore. I stopped training for 10 years, but I'm still a black belt. I mean, that doesn't really, you know, it doesn't really sit well with me. You know, it's something, it's not real to me, you know. Reality to me is current, it's in the moment. So, you know, Muhammad Ali he was a former heavyweight champion of the world, you know, but that was like over 40, 50 years ago. You know, now he's passed away, you know, and, you know, people that were former police officers, now, they got fired or they retired, but they're no longer police officers. This person, Michael Jordan, was a former NBA basketball player, but now he's not playing in the NBA anymore. Like, that's the reality. So you might formerly have been a black belt martial artist, or you formerly, used to be a martial artist, or you formerly were advanced in the martial arts, but what about right now? Where are you now? So that's what I'm trying to bring out. It's very difficult to come up with something that works, but this is what we've come up with as a group, and it's something I'm very happy with. It really helps people stay motivated. Be like, hey, where am I on this list? Okay, what do I gotta do to move up in rank? Or what do I have to do to maintain my rank? And it just helps people progress in that manner, and it puts things in perspective. And other times, might be some people that are really talented that join the school, but they don't stay long, or they don't take the training that seriously because they might be arrogant, with their abilities, their natural abilities, and that's not going to really put them too high up in the ranks either, because a lot of, the determination on where people are in the ranks, a lot of it is their development within their meditation and their spirituality, and basically the way that they treat others, and also how they use power. Humbleness is not something that you could really strive to be. It's just something that you are or you're not. And you can't say that you're a humble person, because as soon as you say that you are, you're already not humble. It's something that's observed from the outside, and people will see whether or not this person is a humble person or not. And humbleness is very important in the martial arts. And the people that aren't, they're not going to get very far within the school. So that's where it's at. I can't really say much about the other schools and what they do, how they do it. All I can say is that whatever that was currently going on, that is currently going on with the way that the schools do it, I just don't agree to it. There's problems, a lot of problems that I see that need to be fixed. To me, a black belt shouldn't be like the same as getting a bachelor's degree, where you obtain it and that's it. Like, you don't have to do anything else, you have it. And no matter if 20 years pass or 30 years pass, that people just still say, oh, I got my bachelor's. Like, but are you still learning? Are you still evolving? Are you still improving? Like, the bachelor's, it doesn't symbolize anything in that regards. So when people just say, oh, I got a black belt, but what does that mean? Like, are you still current with your training? Are you still improving? Are you still learning? Are you still a martial artist? Like, I think that it should change. Every year, people should have to prove themselves. Just like I said, the sports, I agree with how they do it. It's every year it's different. Michael Jordan had 6 titles. Kobe Bryant had 5. I think Shaquille O'Neal, had 4. Dwayne Wade had 3. So you need to prove yourself year after year. And I see the same thing should hold true for the martial arts as well. You need to prove yourself every single year, that you're continuing on the path and the way in the martial arts. We got to stop bragging about our achievements of the past. What you did when you were 5 years old, you got straight A's in kindergarten, or, in junior high, you were the most athletic. When you're 13 years old, you're the most athletic person in the class. In high school, you were the valedictorian or whatever of the high school. You got straight A's. in college, you know, it's like reminiscing on the past achievements. To me, it's not really, you know, that's not the way. You know, the way is to simply just, your life is the martial arts. You wake up, it's martial arts. You go to sleep, it's martial arts. Like everything, your life is martial arts. And there's really no symbol to say like how great you are, and you don't even need to prove yourself. You just do what you do, and just by doing, you inspire others, you know, to improve upon themselves, because you're basically just leading by example, not knowing that you're leading by example, because you're a humble person and you don't even know that you're humble. I mean, that's the way of the martial arts to me. You know, it's not about belts, it's not about ranks, it's not about titles. It's just about living the way. But if you're gonna open a school, you're gonna run a school, and you're gonna organize people together and train in groups, then there needs to be organization, then there needs to be ranks, there needs to be titles, there needs to be structure, you know, because somebody has to teach. Because if nobody's teaching them, why are people even coming there? So somebody's got to teach. And if the teacher needs help, then who are his helpers? That's where ranks come in, you know. So that's the way that I see it. And once again, thank everybody for all the support. You know, we're truly thankful. I'm very grateful. We are very grateful. And we hope to put out more videos out there, trying to come up with more ideas and different things that we could do, different things that we could express, and maybe I could share some more teachings. As long as I feel the appreciation. If a video gets very popular where I'm teaching something, then I might put more videos out there where I'm actually teaching something. But if those videos aren't popular, then there's no point, you know, because I'm losing a part of, you know, kind of like the privacy and the value of just keeping things more discreet and just kind of more for people that are close to you, you know. But if there's a lot more people that show support and they really are interested in learning certain things, then, you know, I might put it out there. But there's always that dynamic of like, in order to retain quality, you need to restrict it from the masses. Just like with cars, you don't see Lamborghinis out there often because it's restricted. Only certain people have enough money to buy those valuable things. So if anybody can learn from me, as long as they just log onto YouTube, it decreases the value of what I have to share. So the more that I close it off and only share certain teachings to certain students, the more value that it puts into the art. And that's what I want to do. That's why I can't just teach everything, whatever, to everybody. No, I can't do it that way. It's going to lower the value of what I do. And it's going to lower the value of the martial arts. So basically what I'm saying is that if you're interested in learning the martial arts, then join a martial arts school near you. You know, join a Chinese martial arts school. And hopefully you'll learn some things that are similar to what I have to teach. You know, but that's what I say. Just hopefully, you know, we can motivate you to get out there and learn more about the Chinese martial arts. Learn more about Kung Fu. Learn more about Bruce Lee, you know, and his teachings. Learn more about the Tao. Learn more about meditation. So thank you once again, everybody. You take care.